Hi, I'm Para That Person, and welcome back to my series where I go back and review every album by Tally Hall. Today is the finale, as they only released 2 albums. But if you like this series, I might look at the side projects as well. The band's sophomore release has a very different sound to Marvin's, with a fully realized style and more serious tracks. It's a lot less silly and goes into far more important topics instead of just bananas and being born. However, it still finds space for some fun ideas, such as having a medieval tone throughout the runtime. Some people hate this, and some people really love it. Which side am I on? Well, let's find out, shall we? I've said it before and I'll say it again. Never Meant to Know is an incredible opening track. It has an incredibly memorable riff to start it off with a soundscape of synthy guitar, followed by Rob's vocals kicking everything off. Lyrically, it's a clear improvement from Marvin's. While the former has trouble balancing between nonsense and simplicity, Good and Evil finds, well, a good place between the two. The song itself seems to be about how there are mysteries of existence which are far out of reach for simple minds, and that some things just are, and we aren't meant to know how they work. It's extremely catchy, both with the brain-tingling synth as well as the harmonies during the chorus, and I love every aspect of it. It all culminates in a bridge which slowly intensifies into the final chorus before cutting out to make way for the next track. It's honestly just brilliant, and is still one of my favorite songs from the group. It's a lot more solid and realized than Good Day was, and sets the tone for the record extremely well. This is an album which knows exactly what it is, not just a bunch of genre-defying tracks bundled together, and that it plays extremely well in its favor. Love of the song! And is a great song.
Don't you mean ampersand?
Well, technically it's an ampersand, but this song is just called And. From the lyrics to most tracks to even its title, this album exclusively uses the symbol for and when saying the word. Opening with the band singing a single strange lyric, Love of the Sun, Joe's wild writing style finally makes a reappearance. It's written as Love of the Sun, not specifying which variation of sun it actually is referring to, either a child or the actual sun in the sky. There's actually a really cool web series based off of this idea. Continuing, the song goes on to talk about what it calls ands, being opposites, weak and strong and wet and dry, and on and on. The whole song goes on about this concept, giving many examples of these ands, but eventually falls into an unnerving bridge. I honestly have no idea what the meaning of this bridge is, with lyrics like, Big Bad Betty of the Apocalypse, she opened her lips and it goes like this. I have no clue what he's talking about. It eventually all gets washed away and transitions into the next song, but you're left pretty stunned with the sudden ending. All in all, it's a pretty fun song to listen to, but it's fairly weak lyrically. While the idea of ands is pretty neat, the rest of it just seems like nonsense to me, and if it has meaning, it takes too much work to get anything out of it. Like many of his earlier songs, this one is about a relationship. At the beginning of the song, everything seems wonderful. However, as it goes on, Rob begins questioning this relationship, wondering what he's done. But this seems to be a circular occasion, with him being happy, wondering if it's a mistake, and being happy again. This seems to loop as the chorus says that the two of them are in a circular design, but ultimately they're happy together. It's a short and fun track, but nothing special. Ooh, I do not even want to give my opinion on this song because everyone will want to kill me. Well, here goes. I don't like Cannibal. I just don't. I know. It's a powerful song about being in an abusive relationship and being unable to leave. Zubin compares this to being a willing victim of a cannibal. She's eating him alive, but he can't refuse it. Sometimes he thinks that it's okay because she says she's just playing a game, but ultimately it's still an extremely unhealthy situation. It's a pretty clever metaphor and works well as a song, but I just don't like how it sounds. It's fine and it's catchy, but I'm just not a huge fan. Zubin's vocals are great, but the verses musically are just okay. This is probably a hot take, but don't get me wrong, it's still a good song, I just don't vibe with it personally. This is another one of Rob's lighthearted songs off of the album. It's my favorite one of the 3. It talks about someone who had a friend who became famous and left him behind. He talks about how he can't believe that this person he once knew is now flying over his city on a plane on their way to their next event. It's a really heartfelt song which is slightly covered up by the whimsical medieval sounding instrumental. The motif of this sound is usually present throughout the record, and honestly I'm a sucker for it. While it's unusual for an alt-rock album, it fits perfectly with Tally Hall's Fablu style. Continuing lyrically, the bridge presents some animosity between the two old friends as Rob sings about how they abandoned him for fame. However, even though they left him behind, he still admires them from a distance. It's a really sweet track and I feel like it's super underrated, especially because I haven't seen many people talking about the meaning. Hell, I could be getting it completely wrong, but this is how I interpret it. Wow, this song is a lot of fun to listen to. It's just a whimsical romp throughout a Dungeons & Dragons-esque adventure with some banger instrumental throughout, including a harpsichord! I love harpsichords! The adventurers are on a quest to defeat a sacred beast for the Almighty King. When they get close, the beast escapes, so they continue their quest after the song reaches an end. It's really fun, but it's also really short, only clocking in at 2 minutes and 22 seconds. The demo for this song is found on admittedly incomplete demos, and it's actually a lot longer than the original. With a reprise of the bridge and another verse, I greatly prefer this one, as it contains some awesome lyrics like "We'll be in the garden growing," and it feels like a much fuller song than the final version ended up being. Overall, it's still fantastic, and a high point leading into the next sad and depressing song. Damn, this is good stuff. Joe drops the guise of being a silly little fellow who writes nonsense to deliver a truly breathtaking ode to a scarecrow. Talking about how the straw-filled being stands all day and how birds fear it, but the farmer who owns it sometimes imagines that it's sentient and that it hears when he sings. Joe sings all this with a beautiful reverberating filter over equally nice guitar sound. The chorus especially rings with a flair as all the instruments come together in a bombastic message to the scarecrow, wondering how it feels about its solitary life. The bridge starts out slowly, but everything eventually comes together in a ballad where the scarecrow imagines that they can fly like the birds they scare away. The song closes with the singer wondering if the scarecrow wants to escape from their sad life, and it slowly fades away with Ross's vocals. That's right, Ross Featherman sang. It was just him saying "the wind knows" over and over again, but it's still neat and a lot better than Mucka Blucka. It's a beautiful song which ends the first half of the album in fashion.
You're going to be burned alive, since you thought 13 was an intro to Ruler of Everything. I bet you think this is just a reprise of And.
Yeah, I do. But in this case, people actually agree with me. It includes the motif of And with a much calmer and whimsical tone, which much more closely resembles the likes of Who You Are and Hymn for a Scarecrow. With the exact halfway moment of the album hitting right when Joe begins to sing, a lady is a bridge between the two halves of the album. While there's not exactly any radical differences between either parts, it's an intermission nonetheless, and the end is just Joe singing with a flute playing in the background, and I'm not entirely sure what it means. He refers to this lady as being good and evil, hey, that's the name of the album, and that she showed him his true potential and now waits for the girl to realize her own. It's honestly just a beautiful little track and I'm a sucker for it. I know some people who skip it, but come on man, it's 64 seconds and it's really pleasant. It's not that big of a time waster. In my original video ranking every Tally Hall song, I claimed that The Trap was my, spoilers, #1 song out of their whole discography. Do I still believe this? No. Do I still love The Trap? Hell yes. Zubin is easily my favorite vocalist in the band and his lyricism is equally beautiful. While Zubin only wrote a little bit of Welcome to Tally Hall and Marvin's, he wrote a lot more for the group's sophomore release. By more I do mean that he wrote 2 songs, which isn't a lot, but it's far more than just contributing on one. Zubin stated that the track is about how the digital world is starting to take over, and how this widespread connection may result in our end, thus the title of The Trap. The instrumentation on this one is superb, with a catchy synth playing throughout the guitars and some drum samples. We hear some of Zubin's higher register in the chorus when he's experiencing how we fall him into the trap, and my god is it an elevating experience. The bridge builds up to a climactic outro, which gives the song an unusually lengthy runtime, hitting just below 5 minutes, but it's still fire from start to finish and definitely my top 3 for the album. Not quite #1 material anymore though. I like Turn the Lights Off. It's fun and has a good meaning, but I'm not completely sold on the sound. Lyrically, it's about a kid comparing growing up to becoming a monster, and that the light of childhood vanishes as soon as adulthood hits, thus turning the lights off. As the song continues, the kid in question grows up even more, forgetting childhood memories, breathing water, getting freaky, and all the stuff adults do. This is all portrayed in a synthy conglomeration of sound, which is fun, but I'm not huge on it. I especially don't like the production on the bridge, where the vocals sound super distant and reverberating. It's not the weakest point on the album for me, we'll get to that soon, but it's not exactly a high point either.
Oh, it's the bidding. Oh my god, incorrect.
Andrew Horowitz is one surprising man. One day he's writing about being in love with Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, and another he's writing one of the deepest and most powerful songs in Tally Hall history. The song covers a community-led reformation of a town, but it ends up just making things much worse, thus Misery Falling. They seem to be over-reliant on faith instead of trying to make things better themselves, as they believe that smiling through life and sacrificing things for a higher power will make their lives happier. They abandon concepts like science and chemistry and fully believe that a higher power will improve their lives, but unfortunately this bliss doesn't last very long as they realize the issues with the idea, and misery falls. It's an extremely intricate track which examines a balance between faith and life. But on top of all of this, it's a banger. With Zubin on lead vocals, it's already bound to be good, but the duality between the quiet verses and the explosive chorus works super well. From the little guitar riffs between the two verses and Zubin's high notes in the final reprise, everything about this song is beautiful and I love it to bits. Hell, this might actually be my single favorite Tally Hall song, but there might be one more which tops it. It's not the next one though. Mid. Fine, I'll talk about it. This is just a fairly bland poppy song Rob wrote, and unlike stuff like You and Me and Who You Are, there's just nothing redeeming about it. It's fine, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it's just not good. The lyrics don't make any sense. Stone in glass is just a random thing he says, and it's just complete fluff to spread out the runtime. It definitely sounds like he was pandering to a more casual audience instead of actually writing something for Tally Hall, as it has no charm or whimsy or anything which is recognizably from the group. Moving on. Oh wow, I love this song. Similarly to The Whole World and You, this is a song by Andrew which just talks about how wonderful he thinks someone is. He sings that nothing interesting happens when he's alone, but since she's around, he's never truly alone. And that as long as she's there, he has something to believe in. The bridge seems to talk about the two of them outside together as he says there are clouds before them in the warm sun, and it's just a really sweet track. It is minimal production, only having a piano, guitar, and percussion underneath Andrew's light vocals, and it works really well. Not a whole lot of meaning or oomph to it, but it's still a sweet song. And if anyone disses this song, I will personally come to their house and... Wow. This is the Bohemian Rhapsody of Tally Hall, not Bahamian Rhapsody. It's a haunting song with a distorted piano opening it up, which leads to an echoey trio of Joe, Rob, and Zubin on lead vocals. Andrew never fails to surprise with some wild lyrics which get pretty complex. Past all the buried expressions of then, sullen drawn eyes and expressions to mend. If you were to ask me what this song is about, I couldn't tell you, but it's breathtaking, so does it matter? It all culminates in the chorus, which starts with a reverberating guitar riff leading into the group belting the title of the song as an explosion of sound follows. The song picks up the bass, entering into the second verse, and continues to speed up into the second chorus. This all falls away as Zubin's oohs take up all of the sound, with a sampling of an opera playing in the background. It leads to a quieter final verse with Andrew on lead vocals talking about Ferris wheels? It's beautiful and a fantastic 6-minute ballad to end the album, but I just don't know what it's about. With that alone, it might push Fate of the Stars to my second favorite Tally Hall song, as at least with Misery Fell I knew what it was about. But it's still beautiful, nonetheless. And that's Good and Evil. In general, I feel like it has more hits than misses, unlike Marvin's. It knows its theme and sticks to it. While it may not be as quirky as Marvin was, I think that works in its favor. It's still uniquely Tally Hall, and in my opinion, is far superior to Marvin's. Okay, maybe not far superior, but definitely superior. While the former had maybe one 9 out of 10 track, there's at least 3 here. And I wouldn't even put Out in the Twilight below a 5, although it's close. I'm going to give Good and Evil an 8 out of 10. It's a fantastic album, which is endlessly replayable. If you disagree or partially agree, leave a comment and let me know what you think of Tally Hall's last album. If you guys want me to do more videos like this on the side projects, I'd love to. So until next time, be who you are, and I'll see you not too far.